Now, there's been a lot of discussions on December 21st, 2012, and some people are, of course, concerned about and have mentioned things such as government insurrection, government basically protecting their own and leaving us to the wolves, etc., 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 which is very possible. However, I wanted to try to talk about the spiritual implications before I worry about the physical implications, because first of all, I know that there has been much discussion on really not that much except in a religious sense. First of all, in my honest opinion, I think we are going to be seeing a paradigm shift away from consumerism towards spiritualism. Now, spiritualism is where we more are communing with the spiritual aspects of humanity instead of the consumer aspects of humanity. Consumerism has resulted in the products of many things, including prescription medications, which not necessarily, and of course over-the-counter medications that don't necessarily always help everybody in question, but rather are made to apparently solve a problem that is what they do for a price. Everything has a price in consumerism. The spiritual aspect, which is intrinsic in all humanity, is that we have a deep heart that's feeling, at least a good portion of us do, that there's something much greater than self-egotistical goals. It needs to be addressed. And to do that is we have to learn to love our fellow brothers and sisters. 2012, they say, is the rise of the 5D consciousness as an octarine/crystal. I certainly do understand that meaning of the 5D consciousness, which, I can feel deep in my psyche and my soul. It's intrinsic to me. It's a part of me. As an octarine, I also am finding, watching the end of consumerism to be painful to watch, as I see much people gnashing their teeth and wailing the loss of what they had thought was their love, which was money. And as Lord Jesus had said, one cannot serve two masters. You'll either love one and despise the other. Or, he also pointed out that, likewise, man cannot serve God and his own self-worth for wealth. For God is truly all the wealth that one needs. But who is God? It seems like another topic as octarines run into and are not afraid to touch on, because we're so close to the Godhead. And we can tell that because as you look at us, we have a certain aura, a certain energy that we show in the way we handle our friends, loves, life, daily activities. But when we're talking about things of the grave nature of 2012, we have a hard time explaining to a large mindset that there is not going to be the end of the world. In other words, it's not going to be the final curtain. But it will be, is the final curtain on the act of consumerism and meism. Meism actually came into effect based on a book called Look Out for Number One that was released in the 1970s. This book, of course, was the beginning of selfish or self-centerism and egoism that we all see around us today, which of course flourished in the 80s because the young mindset who read that book, Look Out for Number One, in the 70s, carried that on into the 80s and beyond. However, that mindset must have a lethal injection and die quickly, because if it doesn't, that person will not be ready for the new age of sharing and community spirit, and never mind the new paradigm of what they call holographic time. Holographic time is something I'm not even really understanding that well. It's basically is that there's no past, no present, no future. It's all now. What? How can it all be now? I don't know. But what I do know is this. I'm still learning. I'm still trying to understand all the things around me. So first thing I want to do for December 21st, 2012 people is first of all give you a heads up. Number one, at the time this video was recorded, around May 17th, 2011, okay, on May 16th, 2011, the United States had hit its debt ceiling of $14 trillion plus. The federal government was talking about concerns about it was I think Bernanke, who said that if we don't get more credit by August 2nd, 2011, we're in deep guacamole. Well, let me tell you something. It's not going to happen. And all it's going to do is, we're leading into a significant issue, as the Webbot project has confirmed, that now with the government reaching its borrowed credit card limit, they can't borrow anymore. Programs are going to end up being abandoned to save money, to save their ass. And when to save their ass, they're going to save it by taking it out on you and me, by cutting programs that we depend on. Things including Social Security, food stamps, Section 8 program run by the Housing and Urban Development, unemployment compensation, big energy assistance programs that are paid to the states as block grants, all because they don't have the money to continue to borrow from China. Because we don't have the money to borrow from China, China knows this. At last time I checked the Hong Kong Stock Exchange, it showed a significant drop for the past 3 days in a row. The Dow Jones Industrials are also down for 3 days in a row, because investors know that something's wrong. Okay, great. So where does that leave us today? Well, first thing is that you need to have faith in something greater than yourself. Okay? Now, I worship and I revere Mother Asna and Father Yahweh. Okay? The Godhead, the masculine divine and the feminine divine. I protect and love and respect all life on this earth. From the cat to the bunny to the cockroach to the housefly. If it's an animal, and if it's not getting in my way, I will not hurt it. Okay? Now, if you got a little mosquitoes crawling all over me, yeah, they're gonna get smashed big time. But that's because they're being a pest. Not if they're just quietly flying around in the corner, leaving somebody alone, I don't touch them. Same thing with any insects that sting. Third of all is that I do personally prefer a vegetarian diet. Now, hold on a minute. We got a problem here. The Snow Queen is got no choice in the dead of winter to be a mediator because there is no vegetables on a large point to support the number of caloric intakes required to do your work. That's a fact. It takes a lot of calories to provide the body the appropriate energy it needs in a cold, frigid environment. Ask the people in Antarctica at McMurdo Base or South Pole Station, Scott and Unison Base, how many calories per day they need to eat to keep their body in operating position. They easily can eat more than 3,000 to 4,000 calories just to maintain equilibrium as their body needs to generate heat. You're not going to get that from vegetables, okay? Well, maybe that might work great in a temperate climate where you can grow a garden, but it ain't going to help in the middle of the frozen deep tundra when you're freezing your butts off, okay? So unfortunately I had to become very reasonably flexible in my eating habits to accommodate both situations. Also, at the kind of time, also on Social Security disability, I have to be willing to accept what the cook serves. I eat at the local community soup kitchen here in Winsted. I don't always like what they serve, mind you, but I am an active participant in their program, so I do, of course, go and at least socialize with the community. So, first thing is, you're going to have to leave your personal preferences by the door, because unfortunately, there may not necessarily be one. Let's also discuss housing, because if you are on Social Security disability or any other kind of entitlement programs, given the fact that the government is in deep guacamole, you don't have any guarantee that your entitlements will continue. So therefore, you need to look into other things that can keep you and your family provided for. That means things such as maybe possibly a pup tent to an alpine tent to maybe a simple shanty made out of garbage bags. It's all up to you. But the point is, you need to consider the fact is that one day the checks may not be coming. Likewise, though I didn't have a tripod stand for my camera, and so I'm using a piece of tape to hold my iPhone to a tripod. Not exactly a very good secure solution, but it was indeed a solution that was available to me. So, you have to make do. That's another thing. You have to make do with what you have. That does mean that if you have to use a piece of clear shipping tape to hold your iPhone to a tripod, well, you gotta use a piece of clear tape to hold your iPhone to a tripod. Okay? Either that, or you're not gonna get that wide, expansive shot that you wanted to get from the first day. And let's be honest, my arm is only so long, okay? You really think about that. And in addition to that, you may not have a choice of who you share your housing with. If the situation gets so dire that there is no housing and you need to bundle up with somebody else because they got a place to sleep and you have nothing but you have food, you need to make arrangements. If you watch The Colony, the first season is better than the second in this area, but the second does kind of discuss it too. Is you need to realize that you don't know who is out there or what they're thinking of. But if you know there's safety in numbers, and therefore you should be willing to accept that by yourself you're likely to perish, but by working together as a group, you